My name is Haley Anderson, and I'm 28 years old. What should have been the brightest moment of my life, my engagement party, turned into a nightmare when my own father punched me in the face. All because I refused to hand over the $150,000 wedding fund my grandmother left me to my brother, Ethan. As I stood there, wiping blood from my lip, the room fell silent. My family thought they could control me, bend me to their will. But they had no idea what I was capable of. Before I dive into this story, I need you to do me a favor. Drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from. And if you've ever had to stand up to toxic family members who tried to take what was rightfully yours, hit that like button. Subscribe and share this video. Your support means the world, and I know this story will resonate with so many of you who fought similar battles. Let's get into it. Growing up in an upper-middle-class home in Boston, my life looked picture-perfect from the outside. My parents, Raymond and Diana Anderson, had a beautiful house in a great neighborhood. We took family vacations every summer, and opportunities seemed endless. But beneath that shiny facade was a deeply unfair dynamic that shaped my childhood and left scars I didn't fully understand until much later. My brother, Ethan, 2 years younger than me, was the golden child from the moment he was born. It started small, subtle things you might not notice unless you were living it. Ethan got the bigger bedroom, the newer toys, the extra attention at family gatherings. I'd watch relatives fawn over him while I stood on the sidelines, my achievements barely acknowledged. As we got older, the favoritism grew sharper, more cutting. When I turned 16, I wanted a car to get to my part-time job at a local coffee shop. My parents told me I had to save up and buy it myself, said it would teach me responsibility. So I worked weekends and after school for 8 months, scraping together enough for a beat-up Honda that broke down constantly. I was proud of it, though because it was mine, earned through my own sweat. 2 years later, when Ethan turned 16, my parents handed him the keys to a brand new Ford Mustang. No job, no savings, no effort required. I remember standing in the driveway, staring at that shiny car, feeling a knot in my stomach. It wasn't about the car itself, it was the message Ethan was worth more. That pattern followed us through life. In college, I juggled multiple jobs while maintaining a 3.8 GPA in my physical therapy program. It was grueling, but I was determined to make something of myself. Meanwhile, my parents paid for Ethan's full ride at a private university. He changed majors 3 times, partied his way through 6 years, and barely graduated with a business degree. I walked away with student loans. Ethan walked away debt-free. Every time I tried to talk to my parents about the disparity, they'd brush it off. Ethan needs more support. They'd say, "You're so independent. Haley, you'll be fine." But being fine didn't erase the sting of being overlooked, of always coming second. The one person who saw through it all was my grandmother, Martha. She was my mother's mother, a fierce, self-made woman who built a successful real estate business in the 1970s, when women were rarely taken seriously in that world. Grandma Martha and I had a special bond. She saw herself in me hardworking, independent, unwilling to wait for handouts. "You remind me of myself at your age, Haley," she told me once, her eyes sparkling as we sipped tea in her sunroom. "You don't expect life to give you anything. You go out and take it." Her words stayed with me, a quiet source of strength in a family that often made me feel invisible. When Grandma Martha passed away 3 years ago, her will dropped a bombshell. She'd set up a trust fund for my future wedding, $150,000 accessible only for that purpose, and only with my authorization. The trust was airtight, designed to protect the money from anyone who might try to take it. My family's reaction was telling. "She always did play favorites," my mother said, her voice dripping with bitterness. My father stayed silent, but I could see the anger in his eyes. Ethan stormed out of the lawyer's office, slamming the door behind him. I knew then that the trust fund wasn't just money, it was a line in the sand, a gift from my grandmother that said, "You are enough. I met Logan Hayes 4 years ago at a charity run for children's cancer research. I was volunteering as a physical therapist, helping runners with stretches and minor injuries. Logan, an architect whose firm sponsored the event, twisted his ankle halfway through the race, but insisted on finishing. When he limped to my station, still smiling despite the pain, he said, "Worth it. The kids we're running for go through worse every day." His compassion hit me like a lightning bolt. Here was someone who cared about others, who saw the bigger picture. When he asked for my number, I didn't hesitate. Logan came from a family that was everything mine wasn't: warm, supportive, grounded. His parents, Maureen and Thomas Hayes, lived in a modest suburban home and welcomed me with open arms from the start. Family dinners at their house were filled with laughter, genuine curiosity about each other's lives, and a sense of belonging I'd never felt with my own family, my parents. On the other hand, were cold toward Logan. He wasn't from a connected family, and his career at a sustainability-focused architecture firm didn't impress my status-obsessed father, a corporate attorney. "He seems nice enough," my mother said after meeting him. "But are you sure he can provide the lifestyle you're accustomed to?" I didn't bother explaining that the lifestyle I had was one I'd built myself. After college, I'd landed a job as a physical therapist at one of Boston's top sports medicine clinics. I had my own apartment, paid my bills, and was even tackling my student loans ahead of schedule. I didn't need anyone to provide for me. I was doing just fine. As Logan and I grew closer, my relationship with my parents grew more distant. Phone calls became brief. Family dinners, a test of patience, as I endured my father's subtle jabs at Logan's career and my mother's passive-aggressive comments about my choices. Meanwhile, Ethan continued to flounder. After college, my parents bankrolled a string of his business ventures, each one crashing within months. They blamed the economy, the market, his partners, never Ethan's lack of effort or business sense. Every failure was followed by another infusion of their money into his latest scheme. It was a cycle I'd seen play out my whole life. Ethan messes up, my parents fix it, and I'm expected to stay quiet. 2 months before Logan proposed, I ran into my cousin Brooke at a coffee shop. She'd always been kind, one of the few relatives who didn't buy into the family's dysfunction. "Have you talked to Ethan lately?" she asked, her voice hesitant. I shook my head. "Not in a few weeks." "Why?" She leaned in, lowering her voice. "I heard from Aunt Patty that he's in trouble. Gambling debts, and your parents are worried." It was the first I'd heard of it, but it didn't shock me. Ethan had always chased quick fixes and easy money. I made a mental note to ask my mother, but work got in the way. And I let it slip until it was too late. Logan proposed on our 3rd anniversary at the harbor where we'd had our first date. As the sun set over the water, he got down on one knee. "Haley," he said, his voice trembling, "you're the strongest, kindest person I've ever known. You've taught me what determination looks like, and your compassion inspires me every day. I want to build a life with you literally and figuratively." He grinned at his architect joke before continuing. "Will you marry me?" The ring was perfect, a classic solitaire diamond, simple but stunning. I said yes through tears, and as he slipped the ring on my finger, I felt a peace I'd rarely known. That night, over champagne in our apartment, we started planning something small. Logan said, "Close family and friends." I nodded, relieved. "I'd like that. And we can use my grandmother's trust fund to make it exactly what we want, without going into debt." Logan knew about the trust and the complicated emotions it carried. To me, it wasn't just money, it was my grandmother's way of saying she saw me, valued me. "Your grandmother would be thrilled to see you use it for a day that celebrates your happiness," Logan said, squeezing my hand. Over the next few weeks, we sketched out plans of ceremony for about 80 people at a converted barn venue outside the city, a place we'd fallen in love with after volunteering at a farm-to-table charity event there. Good food, good music, a real celebration, not the flashy society wedding my parents would have wanted. When I told my mother about the engagement, Her first question wasn't about the proposal or the ring. "Will you be using that trust fund your grandmother set up?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "That's what it's for." There was a pause. "Your father and I were hoping to talk to you about that. Ethan's been having financial difficulties with his new business venture. We thought you could lend him some of that money and have a smaller wedding." I was floored. "Mom, that's not how the trust works. The money can only be used for wedding expenses. It's legally bound. There must be some way around that." She pressed. "Family helps family. Haley." I ended the call with a sinking feeling, knowing this was only the beginning. We decided to hold our engagement party at Logan's parents' house, more personal than a restaurant, and Maureen was thrilled to host. When I told my mother the details, she immediately had demands. "We'll need to bring Ethan." "Of course," she said. "And he's been seeing someone new. Jessica. We should include her." I hadn't planned on inviting Ethan, given the growing tension, but I reluctantly agreed. "Fine, but please tell him this is our engagement celebration. I don't want drama." "Of course, honey," she said, but her tone left me uneasy. The night before the party, I had a dream where I was trying to walk down the aisle, but my wedding dress kept getting heavier until I couldn't move. I woke up with a sense of dread I couldn't shake, just pre-party jitters. Logan said over breakfast, trying to reassure me. I wanted to believe him. The party was magical at first. Maureen had transformed the backyard with fairy lights, white linens, and wildflower centerpieces, my favorite. Thomas built a wooden arch for us to greet guests. Decorated with more flowers and lights, Logan's sister, Abigail, arrived with her family, her kids handing us handmade cards. Our friends brought gifts and champagne, and the atmosphere was exactly what I'd hoped: joyful, relaxed, filled with love. Then my family arrived. My father looked out of place in his expensive suit. Scanning the yard with judgment, my mother was overdressed in a gown better suited for a gala. Ethan fidgeted nervously, avoiding my gaze, while Jessica, his new girlfriend, clung to his arm, wide-eyed. "Congratulations." "Sweetheart," my mother said, air-kissing my cheek. "The party looks quaint." My father gave me a stiff hug before turning to Logan with a forced smile, "Taking good care of my daughter. I hope." "Logan, ever gracious," replied. "We take good care of each other, sir." As the evening went on, I noticed my father drinking heavily scotch after scotch, barely touching the food. He and Ethan kept slipping away for hushed conversations, returning with tense expressions. Despite their behavior, the party was beautiful. Friends gave heartfelt toasts. Logan's father delivered a moving speech about love. And Logan's own words about my strength brought tears to my eyes. But then, as Maureen brought out the engagement cake, my father approached, reeking of scotch and barely containing his rage. "We need to talk," he hissed, "about that trust fund." My stomach dropped, but I forced a smile. "Dad, this isn't the time. We can discuss it later." He grabbed my arm. "Too hard." "No, now." Logan stepped closer. "Is everything okay?" "Fine," I said quickly, not wanting a scene. "Dad just wants to talk." I should have refused, but years of keeping the peace made me follow him to the edge of the yard, where Ethan was waiting, looking miserable. That's when it all fell apart. My father didn't bother lowering his voice. "You need to sign over your grandmother's trust fund to Ethan," he said. Words slurred, all of it. "He needs it more than you do for some stupid party." I stared at him, stunned. "What? No. The money is for my wedding, and it's legally set up that way. There are ways around legal matters." He snapped. "Your brother's in trouble. Haley. He owes money to dangerous people." I turned to Ethan, who wouldn't meet my eyes. "What's he talking about?" Ethan swallowed hard. "I made mistakes, invested with the wrong people, borrowed money I shouldn't have." "He means he gambled it away." My father cut in. "He owes nearly $100 to people who don't take IOUs. But that's not important. He's family, and he needs help." I couldn't believe it. So, your solution is to take my wedding fund money Grandma left specifically for me. Don't be selfish, my mother chimed in, joining us. You can have a simple wedding. You don't need all that money for one day. By now. Guests were noticing. Logan was heading toward us, concern on his face. This isn't about the wedding, I said, voice shaking but steady. This is about you bailing Ethan out at my expense. Like always. My father's face darkened. That's enough. You're calling the trustee tomorrow to transfer that money to your brother. Family comes first. Something inside me snapped, years of resentment boiling over. No, I said firmly. I'm not doing that. Not this time. He stepped closer, towering over me. What did you say? I held my ground. I said no. The money is mine. Grandma left it to me because she knew you'd try to take it for Ethan. I'm sorry he's in trouble, but I'm not setting myself on fire to keep him warm. You ungrateful little... My father's voice rose to a shout. Give your trust fund to your brother or this engagement is over. The party went silent, all eyes on us. Logan reached us, placing a hand on my shoulder. Sir, everyone needs to take a step back. Stay out of this, my father barked, turning back to me. What's it going to be? Your brother or this engagement? I looked him in the eye. Neither is ending. The trust fund is mine, and I'm marrying Logan. Ethan's problems aren't my responsibility. I didn't see it coming. My father's face twisted with rage, and before anyone could react, his fist connected with my lip and cheek, knocking me backward. A collective gasp rose from the guests. I tasted blood, pain radiating across my face. For a moment, everything slowed. My own father had hit me at my engagement party, in front of everyone. Logan stepped between us, fury in his voice. Don't you touch her. Thomas rushed forward to restrain my father, who was still shouting about family loyalty. I stood slowly, wiping blood from my split lip, a strange calm settling over me. This was the point of no return. My mother was crying, begging everyone to calm down. Ethan looked horrified, frozen. Jessica was recording until Abigail snatched her phone. Haley, please. My mother sobbed. He didn't mean it. He's stressed about Ethan's situation. I looked at her with clarity I'd never had before. He meant it. Mom, he's always meant it. Ethan first, me second, or not at all. The guests were silent, watching. I turned to them, blood still trickling. I'm sorry you had to witness this, but maybe it's fitting. Now everyone sees what I've dealt with my whole life. My father sneered, still restrained. You've always been dramatic. Just like your grandmother. Thank you, I said. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. I walked away. Logan beside me, leaving my family in stunned silence. Inside, Logan cleaned the blood from my face, his hands shaking with anger. We need to get you to a hospital, he said. You might need stitches. In the mirror, my makeup was smeared, my lips split, a bruise forming. My grandmother's pearl earrings caught the light, reminding me of her strength. Outside, we heard chaos, raised voices, crying, things being knocked over. Maureen knocked softly. Haley, the police are here. My friend Patricia called them. I hadn't thought of the police, but it made sense. A man had assaulted a woman in front of dozens of witnesses, father or not. The living room was surreal. 2 officers spoke to Thomas while my father sat, furious and bewildered, as if he couldn't believe he was being treated like a criminal. My mother sobbed, Ethan trying to comfort her. Most guests had moved outside, not wanting to leave until they knew I was okay. Ma'am. An officer said, approaching me, I'm Officer Ramirez. We need your statement, and we need to know if you want to press charges. My mother's head snapped up. Charges Haley. No. He's your father. I looked at her, seeing her clearly for the first time not as my mother, but as an enabler of years of favoritism and abuse. A father doesn't punch his daughter over her inheritance, I said quietly. I gave my statement, recounting everything the trust fund demands, the threat to end my engagement, the punch, and yes, I concluded, I want to press charges. My father was handcuffed and led to a police car, protesting that this was a family matter. My mother followed, begging the officers to reconsider. Ethan approached me hesitantly. Haley, I'm so sorry. I never thought I cut him off. We'll talk later. Ethan, I need to go to the hospital. Logan's parents drove us to the ER, where I got 3 stitches in my lip and was checked for a concussion. The doctor photographed my injuries and gave me counseling resources for family violence. It takes courage to press charges, she said kindly. Many don't. Back at our apartment, the shock wore off, and the reality hit. I collapsed on the couch, tears finally coming. Logan held me, not offering empty promises, just being there. My phone was flooded with messages, friends checking on me, Logan's family offering support, my mother guilt-tripping. How could you do this to your father? Extended family weighed in, some supportive, others scolding me for involving the police. A message from Brooke stood out. I saw what happened. I've got your back. Your dad's behavior was inexcusable. I turned off my phone, unable to handle it. Logan made tea, and we sat in silence, processing. What are you thinking? He asked. I took a deep breath. I'm thinking my parents don't love me, not the way parents should. They love what I can do for them, for Ethan, but not me for being me. Logan didn't contradict me. He knew better. I'm also thinking I need to protect myself legally. Financially, emotionally, this isn't over. They'll keep pushing about the trust fund. Whatever you decide, Logan said, I'm with you. My family is, too. For the first time since my grandmother's death, I felt truly supported, valued for who I was, despite the pain. That gave me strength. I'm going to fight, I said. For the first time, I'm standing up for myself. No compromise. Logan squeezed my hand. That's why I love you. The next morning, my face was swollen, a dark bruise blooming across my cheek. My phone buzzed with more messages. My mother's growing desperate. Ethan's oscillating between apology and blame. A voicemail from my father, unapologetic, pressuring me to drop the charges. Logan was right. I didn't have to listen. We took a few days off work, and I met with Catherine Winters, a lawyer recommended by Logan's father. Her office was warm, her eyes kind but steely when she saw my injuries. The assault case is strong, she said. Multiple witnesses, video evidence. She reviewed the trust documents, impressed by their construction. Your grandmother anticipated issues. The terms are clear only for your wedding, only with your authorization. There's even a clause against family coercion. She knew my parents. I said, Catherine grew serious. Your father's an attorney with connections. He might try other approaches. Any unusual activity with the trust, I hadn't noticed anything, but her question worried me. She contacted the trust manager to add security measures, dual verification, access alerts. Catherine also suggested therapy for family trauma. Logan supported it, and within a week, I started seeing Dr. Melissa Chin. She explained the golden child scapegoat dynamic, helping me see how I'd internalized the idea that my needs were less important. Pressing charges isn't just about this incident, she said. It's about setting a boundary that should have existed all along. The investigation revealed something chilling. My father had tried to access the trust 3 times in the past year, using his legal credentials to pressure the manager. Each attempt failed, but he hadn't stopped. The engagement party confrontation was a desperate move after his manipulations failed. The betrayal cut deeper than the punch. 2 weeks later, Ethan visited. He looked terrible unshaven, haunted. I had no idea Dad was trying to get your trust fund. He said, I knew he was trying to help me, but not like that. I asked directly about his debts. He admitted to gambling poker, sports betting, owing nearly $100,000 to dangerous people. For the first time, I saw him not as the golden child, but as a man failed by our parents' enabling. I can't give you the trust fund. I said, it wouldn't help you. You need need to address the gambling, he nodded. I'm in Gamblers Anonymous, looking at treatment programs. It was a start. Logan and I adjusted our wedding plans. The publicity around the assault made a big celebration unappealing. We chose a smaller venue, a historic lighthouse on the coast, perfect for an intimate ceremony. It cost less, leaving extra trust money. I had an idea, a scholarship fund for young women escaping family abuse, honoring my grandmother. Catherine helped set it up, ensuring it was protected. As my father's hearing neared, my mother sent a letter begging me to drop the charges to save his career and the family's reputation. Not a word about my well-being. Dr. Chin helped me see her role in enabling the dysfunction. I responded, refusing to drop the charges and setting a clear boundary if she wanted a relationship. She had to stop enabling my father. At the hearing, my father pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault to avoid a felony. The judge, a stern woman, called his actions egregious, sentencing him to probation, anger management, community service, and a restraining order. It wasn't harsh, but it was validation. Outside, my mother confronted me, bitter about his ruined reputation. He ruined it himself when he punched me. I said, "You're worried about the wrong thing." For the first time, I saw a flicker of understanding in her eyes. "I need time to think," she said. "Take all the time you need." I replied, "I'll be here when you're ready to really talk." 2 weeks later, I met Ethan for coffee. He was in treatment, looking better. I didn't see how differently Mom and Dad treated us. He said, "It wasn't fair to you, and it didn't help me either." We talked for hours, beginning to rebuild something honest. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. My mother reached out before the wedding, saying she'd started therapy. I let her come, alone, with strict conditions. The wedding was perfect. 30 guests, Logan's family, Brooke, Ethan, my mother in the back. I walked the aisle with Thomas, a symbol of chosen family. My mother gave me a silver lighthouse bracelet from my grandmother, a moment of connection. Not forgiveness, but possibility. A year later, the Martha Anderson Foundation for Women's Independence, funded by the remaining trust, had helped a dozen women escape abuse. My relationship with my parents remained complex, limited contact with my father, slow rebuilding with my mother. Ethan was supporting himself, maintaining recovery. My grandmother's lighthouse bracelet sat on my desk, a reminder of her legacy, not just money, but strength to claim my worth.